Oh, I didn't think you were like smelling his butthole in the morning or anything.
In case any of the YouTubers thought that. Well, today we have what I am very excited to discuss, things that we find oddly satisfying.
I'm not slapping a person. I'm slapping, playing, and sniffing sourdough. Sourdough dough. Oh, there's something about a good sourdough smell, and then when you shape it and you roll it, and if it's firm, you get to.
Still haven't gotten quite to the smack that ass stage of my sourdough. My first thing that I said that I find oddly satisfying are the smell of my dog's paws when they smell like a Frito factory.
Yes, not a dirty, yeasty Frito, but it's like it's probably a tiny bit of Frito. I mean, a tiny bit of yeasty Frito smell, but I do the pause.
When it's like a corn chip.
Yes.
I love it. Not wet dog,
No,
but
no,
just
no.
the smell, the corn chip smell of my dog.
I haven't thought about that in a long time. Okay. What I find oddly satisfying is when you have a hangnail and you pull it and it actually stops where it has to stop and you don't peel your whole skin back. You know when you have a hangnail and it just perfectly like boop pops
I
out
don't
where it
even know
needs
if I've
to?
ever had that happen.
I have a couple times. It's great.
Another thing I find oddly satisfying is just my husband's normal smell.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Just like the smell in the morning. And then he's always like, "What do you do?" I'm just like, "It's just this your smell. It smells good to me. Not soap, not deodorant, not cologne. I mean, all of those things are fine, but I don't know, just the raw smell."
The pheromones.
Yeah.
Okay.
Big old huff in his neck.
What I
In
find
case anyone
obvious.
thought I was talking about a different body part, I wanted to make it clear I'm talking about like
Yeah.
shoving my face behind his ear and smelling him. Okay.
Oh, I didn't think you were like smelling his butthole in the morning or anything.
In case any of the YouTubers thought that.
Okay, what I find very satisfying, maybe this is not oddly, but I love when you're listening to music, like say when you're walking or running, and it perfectly matches your pace, whatever that is. That's so nice. So nice.
Is that tracks. We just got done everyone doing a personality quiz for the full episode of the podcast, and what Kayla just said tracks so much with your personality.
It does.
You enjoying the aesthetic of music and counting. Another thing similar to you that I find very satisfying is everything related to my sourdough. Actually, wait. First, these are actually two separate. One is just the sourdough starter, which is a very pungent smell. It's a weird smell, but I smell it every time I pull it out of the stove, fridge.
I don't have a fridge smell situation, but when it's risen to the peak and it's active, I just want to shove my face in it. Like I want to get in there with it. It's all bubbly and it's actually a little weird when you think about it because it's like live bacteria and which is causing the bubbles. I just want to it's weird.
Yeah. No, I specifically like smelling my starter, but then I also had a thing where I literally said anything related to my like bread making process. So kneading bread, the smell of it rising and fermenting, cutting through the crust after it's cooked, just like inhaling the first smell of the actual bread when it's been cooked, the smell of it baking. I mean, anything.
The
I
anticipation of taking the lid off to see the rise.
When you've done the bulk fermentation.
Unless it's no, like in the oven, like the first like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And sometimes it goes really bad and you're like, wow, this is disappointing. And when it's a good one, it's like, yes.
Yes, it is. But I love the bulk fermentation smell when you take the sour or saran wrap or the cloth off the top and then you punch it down and all the air comes out.
I don't ever punch it down.
Well, you just you're gathering it up.
Oh, yeah. But I've seen people go like, I think that's a different recipe. Don't do that with your, you know what I'm talking about, right? Oh, you're right. That's what it is.
Your turn.
Okay, speaking of soft things and feeling things, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I find it oddly satisfying to poke. Did you know what I was about to say? To poke specifically a cling wrapped brownie to see how soft it is, but really poking anything soft will do. And there was a specific time where I did that at a restaurant, and Kaylee was there, and it was like unconscious. I just did it, and I was like, "Oh shit!"
I also the number of times I've watched you poke a candle, like a half reformed candle. I literally, as you started talking, I was going to say Kayla smushing a saran wrapped brownie.
I have a sensory thing, I think.
I mean, I have the impulse, but it satisfies you on a whole other level. I find so satisfying being sore from a workout. Not injured sore, but just enough where when I stand up off the toilet, I'm like, ugh.
Yes, I like the twinge of soreness because then I feel like I did something. But there was a time where I there's been multiple times where I've gone overboard and it's like you can't hardly stand up, and that's too much.
Excuse
Are
me.
you okay?
Getting over a cold. I want to have to grunt when I stand up, but to be able to do so without someone else's help.
I'd rather do an internal grunt, but I'm here for it. I know what you're talking about.
I might just be overly dramatic. Okay.
Okay. I find it oddly satisfying when I'm trying to parallel park and it perfectly fits the first attempt, which I will say, not to toot my own horn, but that happens like 90% of the time. I'm not
Me
a bad
too.
parallel parker.
Either it's because I learned the secret trick of the
Yes,
windows.
exactly. Cut it, uncut it, cut it. I know there's a time and place for each cut.
Yes, and if you match it up to your windows of whatever vehicle you're in, it doesn't
Yes.
matter. It always works.
Exactly. Oh, and
Shout
I
out
love
to
when people are
Wisconsin
watching,
DMV.
especially like if they're men watching, they're probably like, this bitch doesn't know how to parallel park. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, oh yeah, I did it.
1,000,000%. Another thing I find oddly satisfying is waxing my armpits. Just waxing in general. You tear it off and then I always look at it and see all
That
of
would
the
be, yeah.
hairs I pull off.
I didn't write this on my list, but it just reminded me of something that's oddly satisfying is when you unfortunately have a zit on your face. You can't pop too soon, but when there's a moment of time where don't use your fingernails, but if you can get in there and it just breaks and pops, I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty satisfying.
Oh yeah, I'm a real picker. I find it oddly satisfying the smell of my hair basically burning while in the grips of my hair straightener.
Okay, I'm not here for that, but I can see where you're coming from. Oh my gosh, okay, I find oddly satisfying any cake decorating videos and power washing videos.
Not
Have
weird.
you
I'm not
not?
surprised. I just wouldn't have the attention span.
Well, you would if you watched them. They're really satisfying. Like, you know, people like ASMR shit. Well, that's awful for my misophonia ass. But like power washing and cake decorating or cookie decorating, eh, it's very soothing.
I like to power wash.
Like you?
Mm-hmm.
Well, come over then and I'll watch you power wash. This also tracks with our personality quiz.
Dude, it does. I'll do the thing and you can watch me do the thing and then tell me how to do it. Yeah, this would bother so many people. I love watching a movie when I can pre-guess the plot lines and then I'm right. And I do this constantly with TV shows and movies, and praise the Lord for giving me the right husband because he doesn't mind.
I understand. I can see. I don't do it a lot, but when I do, I'm like, this is so predictable. Like I figured it out already. It's satisfying.
I get so satisfied by it, and he gets mildly impressed, which heightens my satisfaction to 1,000,000.
I love it. I love it. Okay, well, this is my weird thing that I love. I love packing a car and fitting everything perfectly like a puzzle. Like when you got a big group of people and you got to go to the airport and you got all these suitcases and someone's like, there's no way we can fit all this. Move aside, I will figure it out and it'll be perfect.
You are excellent at that. You're also excellent at any time anyone says we can't do it.
Yeah. Just if you want to motivate me instead of me procrastinating, tell me I can't do it and then I'll show you.
Do you know what is also funny of our personalities is that I will just shove it all in there and be like, that's good enough.
I know, that's so interesting.
Anyway, okay. Another thing I find oddly satisfying is the shitty version of peanut butter and jelly, which is trash bread, trash peanut butter, and basically straight sugar jelly.
I'm not gonna lie, that white bread crustable, it's awful for you, but there's something about, I think it's the texture too. It's just so good.
It's candy. It's candy. It's cake, but yeah, there's something about it. Palm oil and peanuts.
Okay, what I find oddly satisfying, I'm not sure if I'm cooking bacon incorrectly, but I'll put bacon on a parchment paper and put it in the oven because I usually oven my bacon. When I take it off, if I can balance it and not have the grease spill over the parchment paper so that I can just throw the parchment paper away and not have to clean the pan, chef's kiss if I can do that.
Don't tell the environmentalist, but I put tinfoil down first and then parchment paper on top of it so that my bacon doesn't get tinfoiled, but so I don't have to clean my pan.
That's actually really smart. I've never thought about that because I was like, no, don't use just tinfoil, but you put parchment in between.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that idea.
Also, then I sometimes will pour it off into a container so I have bacon grease.
I tried that once and then I couldn't use it because I smelled it and I wanted to throw up.
Very interesting. Last but not least, the very last thing that I find, I don't even think it's oddly satisfying. It's just very satisfying. And it's one of my top tier loves is when I have to take my morning poop right before I have to shower. So I poop, shower, and then I don't poop anymore for the rest of the day. This hardly ever happens.
That's crazy. That is
The
a lot
poop
of.
pre-shower happens fairly often, but usually there's a second poop.
Okay, that's a good one. My last oddly satisfying thing, which I think everyone finds satisfying as well, is perfect vacuum lines. Like, we'll run our shark and it'll go over our rug, and it's like perfect lines. That gets me
I
going.
love that for you. I
Yeah,
would
that's great.
never vacuum to make a line. Would you do you like to mow the lines too?
I don't mow, but if I were to, yes, I would. My mom does that very intricately. She'll go like diagonal. She's fancy with it.
I can appreciate it, but never would I ever take the time to do it. I do like the crackle of the vacuum though.
When you get a good crumb pickup, tell us what you guys find oddly satisfying.
Tell us below, and I'll see you next week.
Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.
Happy Saturday.